is a lovely, yes, chilly, but sunny afternoon in downtown Cincinnati and along the banks of the Ohio. We welcome you to Great American Ballpark. The rubber game of this three-game series between the LA Angels of Anaheim and the Cincinnati Reds. And hi again, everybody, alongside Chris Welsh, I'm Tom Brenneman. Great to have you with us on this Thursday afternoon. And it'll be Bronson Arroyo on the mound today after the hard throwers Cueto and Latos in each of the first two games. And Bronson coming off a rock-solid 2012 year.
Well, you're not kidding about that. You know, he's a guy that obviously gives the Reds what they need as far as innings every year. But what Arroyo has done that people really have noticed, he's kind of under the radar. This guy goes out and wins 14, 15 games just about every year. He has won as many as 17 for the Reds. You see the earned run average that he had last year, his lowest in several years. He'll be facing, well, University of Kentucky's own Joe Blanton, a right-hander that has faced the Reds 5 times. And by the way, the team that he's pitched for against the Reds is 5-0 against the Reds every time he starts. He doesn't always go a great game, but he's been wearing the lucky horseshoe from time to time against this Reds ball club. Maybe it's time to break that streak.
Winning series, that's what it's all about if you want to do what you did a year ago. And today, the first chance for the Reds to do that in this their first series. And we're back in a moment. Thursday afternoon, good crowd on a nice day at Great American Ballpark. And our weather brought to you by Eric Dieters and Associates. What about it?
This will be the warmest game so far of the season. That's not saying much, but not bad weather out there. A lot of cloud cover, upper 40s for the first pitch, mid 50s by the final out. I predict, and I usually don't predict weather, today I predict Votto is going to have a good game. I think that RBI last night's going to get him going. Enjoy the game right here on Fox Sports Ohio.
Well, let's hope there's accuracy in that prediction for Joey Votto. Mike Scioscia, 14th year as manager of the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, the longest tenured manager in all of Major League Baseball. And his lineup very similar to the first two games of this series, except for the battery. Mike Trout, Eric Ibar, Albert Pujols, Josh Hamilton in right, Mark Trumbo again in left, Howie Kendrick in second, Alberto Callaspo in third, Hank Conger his first start of the series behind the plate, and right-hander Joe Blanton on the mound. Joey Votto delivered the hit, the game-winning hit in the bottom of the ninth inning here yesterday, scoring Shin-Soo Choo. Reds in a 5-4 decision. Chapman getting the win, and today it'll be Bronson Arroyo looking to pick up his first win of the year.
Really solid year last year for Bronson Arroyo. You look at all the different numbers that you see right there. Of course, the biggest thing is wins and losses. He only won 12 games last year. One reason why the Reds didn't get him a lot of runs. But what he was able to do over the last couple of years, Arroyo has been able to increase the number of strikeouts he has per game, reduce the number of walks, and keeping the ball in the ballpark is important too. Big part of that is the new pitch that he's thrown the last few years, a sinking fastball. And hey, for a guy that was born in Key West and raised in Brooksville, Florida, he thinks that this 48 to 50 degree weather is nice and toasty. He might be the only guy out there without any sleeves.
Take a look at the defense behind Bronson Arroyo, and it's the same group we have seen in each of the, well, actually in yesterday, I beg your pardon. Ryan Ludwig injured in the season opener, so Heisey had a good game here last night. He's in left field. Choo in center, Jay Bruce in right. Frazier, Cozart, Brandon, and Votto along the infield. And Ryan Hannigan once more hanging the signs for Bronson Arroyo. Heisey wanting that chance to get regular playing time and prove he is an everyday player in the major leagues. Was on base twice, scored a run, stole a base, and his sacrifice led to the game-winning run off the hit from Votto.
Dusty Baker made a point clear that he wanted to put Chris Heisey in a spot where he could most likely succeed, batting right in front of Joey Votto. Going to get some fastballs that way. He advised Chris Heisey to relax a little bit, and that's probably good advice for this entire ball club as they're trying to take this rubber game from the Angels.
So here we go. It'll be Mike Trout, Eric Ibar, Albert Pujols against Arroyo. Trout 2 of 11 in the series with a double. The Angels as a team have struck out 27 times in the first two games of this series. And Arroyo spins a breaking ball that drops to the knees. Strike one, and we're underway. Right on the nose, 50 degrees on this Thursday at Great American Ballpark. Where did that miss? C.B. Buckner calling the balls and strikes. Todd Tishanori down at first, Dale Scott at second, and Bill Miller, the umpire, at third. The low strike was not called in the series opener. It was called here last night by Bill Miller. 1-2 to Trout.
Well, they've been able to handle Mike Trout for the most part in the first couple of games. Of course, he faced very hard throwers in Johnny Cueto and Matt Latos. He's got a whole different cat on the mound and a different approach with Bronson Arroyo.
And he went around. That's the fifth time that Trout has struck out in 2 games and won it back.
You know, unless you see Arroyo a few times, and even that when you see him from the right side of the batter's box, that sidearm curveball is something that looks so tantalizing that so many young players, especially guys like Mike Trout, just can't hold back. It looks good. It looks good. It's like a frisbee that never quite gets there.
One away for the shortstop Ibar. Frazier in on the grass at third, and a swinging bunt attempt.
A running swinging bunt attempt.
Ibar 2 out of 10 in the series. Angels had 9 hits last night after 6 hits in 13 innings on opening day. 0-2.
Well, that first attempt by Ibar reminded me of what Rafael Furcal would do from time to time against a right-handed pitcher. Kind of run up, he'd bring the infield in, the third baseman playing very snug at third, and he'd try to loop that ball over his head.
Arroyo at 0-2 on Ibar. Just underway. Nationals come to town beginning tomorrow night, and that one is hooked into right field. And it'll go to the wall. Try to sneak a fastball by Ibar, and he jumps all over it. And he's in with a 1-out double.
Well, this was supposed to be a waste pitch, and he got him down, no balls and 2 strikes. And occasionally Bronson Arroyo will go north and south. That time he tried to get the ball up, but Ryan Hannigan wanted it up around eye level, not chest level, and the difference there was either a pop-up and a double.
So now Albert Pujols, without a hit so far in the series, was on base twice here last night, drew a walk and reached on an error. Strike 1. Arroyo, 36 years young, in the final year of his contract with the Reds. He is the longest tenured Cincinnati Reds, coming here in 2006 in the deal for Willie Mo Pena from Boston. It certainly will go down as one of the best trades ever made in the franchise history of the Reds. That one hit down the left field line, and it is foul. And a good thing. So Arroyo, for a third straight batter, had 2 strikes in the count. He was 1-2 on Trout, 0-2 on Ibar, now 0-2 on Albert. And a roller by the mound. Cozart with time. On to third goes Ibar. 2 out in the inning, and Josh Hamilton coming up. So much made of all the thunder up and down this Angels lineup, and make no mistake about it. I mean, it's only the first 2 games of the year, and all these guys are going to have their numbers when all is said and done this year. But Reds pitching, how good has it been on the quartet of Trout, Pujols, Hamilton, and Trumbo? About as good as it gets. Ball 1. Updated numbers with Trout now 2 for 12, and Albert 0 for 8.
A lot of first pitch strikes. The Reds pitchers, you got to commend them for coming right after those 4 guys. Not trying to pitch around and pitch behind the count. They went right after guys like Albert Pujols. Every time he looks up, he's no balls and 1 strike to start the count off. And of course, you're facing number 1 in the rotation, and in the case of the Reds with Matt Latos, you may want to say 1A. So they face some pretty good pitching. Trying to slip Bronson Arroyo in between Latos and Homer Bailey.
Bottom fell out of that pitch. 2-1 to Hamilton. And none of the 3 pitches in this at bat have been anywhere near the strike zone. We have seen Arroyo do this, and I'm not suggesting he's doing it now. But we have seen in the past certain hitters, especially left-handed hitters, with a base, 2 of them open in this case, where he's not afraid to have Hamilton reach if he doesn't chase and take his chances with Trumbo next.
You know, Bronson's one of those pitchers that really goes by feel. And he doesn't pitch by the book. And you're right, sometimes those situational walks, he'll give up that other people say, well, why are you walking that guy? You know, because he'd rather face maybe a better statistical hitter coming up next who against Arroyo is not as good, or just the way he feels about a certain pitch that day.
Well, the last 2 pitches he's come after him with strikes. He did not get the call on the 2-1 pitch. Came back 3-1. And Hamilton fouls it away.
He's throwing the ball to Josh Hamilton at 70 miles an hour. I mean, that takes a lot of guts. You've got to really believe in your stuff, and that's one reason why he's had great success. Not the greatest stuff, but he believes in it, and he believes it is just as good as anybody else's out there, but it's a little different.
Payoff pitch and hooked foul. You rarely ever see it anymore, but I'll tell you one thing. Ibar is taking the largest lead from a runner at third base, with Frazier shifted over towards a hole at short.
We got Frazier way over here, and there's no way that you can even attempt a pickoff move down there. So anything that gets away from Ryan Hanigan, even 4 or 5 feet away from home plate, Ibar's coming.
Struck him out swinging. How about that? Hamilton 0 for 9 in a series. A hit, a man left. Angels scoreless. The Reds are coming up. Fox Sports Ohio brought to you by the Ford F-Series trucks, a best-selling truck in America 36 straight years. By Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network. Book your stay at CincinnatiUSA.com. And by Skyline Chili. Feeling good? It's Skyline time. Born in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Right-hander Joe Blanton facing Dusty Baker's Cincinnati Reds. Choo, Heisey, Votto, Phillips, Bruce, and Frazier. A latter third of Cozart, Hanigan, and Bronson Arroyo. Blanton now makes his home down in Nashville, Tennessee. Chris brought up earlier, he pitched collegiately at the University of Kentucky. High fly ball hit pretty well by Choo. And the Reds lead 1-0 on the first home run is a Red by Choo. That's one thing Choo can give you among many things out of that leadoff spot is some thunder.
I think those of us who saw him play consistently down in spring training just became more and more impressed as the days and weeks went by down in Goodyear, thinking, man, oh man, what a great deal for the Reds, how he fits into the lineup, and he just acts as a top of the order guy that can put you on top with one swing of the bat. Boy, that's a good pitch by Blanton too, down and away, and Choo, who's faced him before, knows what he's looking for.
A bonus strike on Chris Heisey. That was the first pitch thrown by Joe Blanton with his new team, the Angels. And that's not the way you want to get started with a new club. First pitch, bang. And now Heisey, a sinking liner that hangs up long enough for Trumbo.
Well, Joe Blanton comes into the season, as you take a look at his record last year, that's with a couple of different ball clubs, the Dodgers and the Phillies. But he comes in really very optimistic because he had a tremendous spring. He had a very low earned run average. And, of course, he'll be the first to admit that you don't always correspond and translate that into a great success during the regular season. But he's a capable pitcher, works fast, doesn't strike out a lot of players. and so sometimes susceptible to the home run ball. But overall, they hope that he's going to anchor that middle of the rotation.
Joey Votto, his first hit of this young season, came at the perfect time for the Reds last night. Bottom of the 9th inning, a runner at second base. We were asking a lot of the Angels people, were they surprised that left-hander Scott Downs pitched to Joey Votto with a base open, and they weren't at all. There was nobody else getting loose in the bullpen. He had a right-handed batter in Brandon Phillips coming up after Votto, and they elected to come after him and paid the price. I can't remember, though, Chris, having said that, the last time we've seen anybody pitch to Joey Votto with a base open in that kind of situation.
Well, they didn't, as you said, Tom, they didn't have anybody up in the bullpen, and they thought if they could have retired Votto, this is what Dusty Baker thought. He thought that they would pitch to Votto, and that they would eventually walk Brandon Phillips if they got that far.
Libar throws out Votto on the roller in front of the bag, 2 away. Angels on defense, presented by Ford. Same everywhere, except behind the plate and on the mound. Hank Conger, former #1 pick, who's had a lot of issues defensively that has stunted his growth. And trying to win the everyday job for the Angels, they re-signed Chris Iannetta. Iannetta looked very good at the plate the first 2 games of this series. Of course, he knocked in all 3 of their runs in the win on opening day. So now Brandon, he hit a 3-run home run here last night. Blanton has always been a very durable guy. Big, strong guy. He has lost a lot of weight from when he first came into the major leagues. Last year, the 7th time in his 8 full years, he's gone at least 175 innings. And the 5th time in his 8 years where he's won 10 games or more. And the one thing he does, as Chris pointed out, as well as just about anybody in all of baseball, throw strikes. He rarely ever walks batters. Sinking liner, right center, that'll fall in for a hit. Bobbled out there by Trout, but Phillips was on his way to second base anyway, and that's a 2-out double.
Yeah, that should be a double. You know, Brandon read that immediately, and it just seemed like Mike Trout and Josh Hamilton, I can't say that they lollygagged after it, but they didn't go after that ball like they were trying to prevent Brandon Phillips from getting a double. They're just kind of surrounding that ball a little bit, kind of like an infielder letting the ball play him. By taking a couple of steps back, that's when Brandon Phillips decided to go to second base. So now a runner in scoring position for Jay Bruce.
Jay, 1 of 9 so far to begin the year, struck out 5 times. He had a double in the game here last night. Breaking ball low and in, 1-0.
Well, that swing he had on the double. High outside fastball from C.J. Wilson. If he can bottle that swing, stayed inside the ball nicely, drove it very hard, left center field gap.
Jay knocked in 99 runs, a career high a season ago. He's gotten better and better every year. His home runs and his RBI totals. His batting average has gone down in each of the last 3 years. Jay celebrated his 26th birthday here yesterday. Two and one. Blanton looks noticeably different from a physical standpoint. He is in far better shape now than he has been at any point in time in his career. On the ground right at Pujols, inning over. But the Reds start with a bang. First pitch in the first inning. The first home run is a Red off the bat of Shin-Soo Choo. And at the end of one, Reds lead 1-0. for serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO. Talking about the Reds' first month. They only have 2 days off. At one stretch, they'll play 20 in a row. Angels, Phillies, Nationals a couple of times. Series at home, series on the road. 6 games against the Cardinals, all of them at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. And you've got division rivals, the Pirates and the Cubs. Will also get a look at the Marlins. But the bottom line is, this will be a test early and often for the reigning National League Central Division champions. Cardinals lost 2 out of 3 to begin their season out in Arizona. Got beat by Ian Kennedy in the opening game. They came back to win game 2. They played 16 innings last night in Arizona and lost to the Diamondbacks. 16 innings. One-two delivery and a breaking ball to Trumbo, blown away. Now the Angels have a tough start to their season as well, but what about last year?
Yeah, they can really look to that record in April last year and say that's the reason why they didn't make the playoffs. They play meaningless games there right down the stretch at the very end of September and early October. 8-15 for a team that added the kind of payroll money they did. That was a very disappointing start.
Had a very disappointing finish. Wound up with 89 wins, but not good enough to get into the postseason for the 3rd consecutive year. Trumbo to be followed by Kendrick and Callaspo, and a swing and a miss at that slow breaking ball, and already 3 strikeouts in the game for Arroyo.
Now this one coming in at 69 miles an hour. Good look at that from our Performance Exmo camera. And even if you're committed to staying back on that, trying to get plate coverage, I mean, just not anywhere nearly as easy it is as it looks to hit that pitch.
Arroyo has never missed a start in his career in the minor leagues, 177 of them. Today is 324th major league start. Soft liner that'll fall in a base hit. Second hit for the Angels. And Kendrick, a 1-out base runner for Alberto Callaspo.
Yeah, it's funny, Tommy, talking about the Angels and having not been in the playoffs for the last 3 years. You know, a lot of people around baseball, when they looked at this series, when the schedules came out and said, boy, the Reds and the Angels have started, might that be a preview of the World Series? I mean, after all, these 2 managers locked horns back in 2002 when Dusty Baker was a manager of the San Francisco Giants. And, of course, Mike Scioscia was here with the Angels. As it turned out, the Angels won that in 7 games. But what a coaching staff Scioscia had back in those days. Some people say that coaching staff that he had would rank among the all-time greats. I mean, if you just think about the players or coaches that he had who went on to become managers.
1-1.
Well, there it is. Mike Scioscia, of course, second from the left there. Then Joe Madden, now on in Tampa Bay as a manager. Bud Black, Ron Renicky, all have gone to become major league managers.
And good ones.
Alfredo Griffin's still with the ball club, and Mickey Hatcher was there until about midway through last year. I mean, out of 1 coaching staff, you have 3 now current managers in Major League Baseball.
You know, it's funny in basketball, especially college basketball and in the NFL. A lot of people pay a lot of attention to that sort of coaching tree. You know, not a lot of followers to the quote-unquote managerial tree, if there is such a thing, but that'd be a good start right there for Mike Scioscia.
Scioscia and Dusty Baker played together as teammates for several years with the Los Angeles Dodgers right around, what, 1980?
Slow roller. They'll get one, and that's all they're going to get. Wasn't hit very hard, and Callaspo scoots up the line pretty well. 2 are out in the inning. So now the number 8 hitter, Hank Conger. He made the team in spring training, had to play his way onto this Angels roster. 25 years old. Spent most of last season in AAA Salt Lake. He's had a couple of stints with the Angels in each of the last 3 years, but virtually 0 playing time at the big league level. And it's taken off the outside corner. Ball 1. Conger grew up in the shadows, really, of the Big A in Anaheim, in nearby Huntington Beach, California. He was their number 1 pick, the 25th overall in the 2006 amateur draft. 1-1 to Conger. Reds on a Shin-Soo Choo first pitch, first inning home run with a 1-0 lead. Runner Callaspo over at first. 2 are out. And a ball and a strike on Conger.
Well, you're right about Hank Conger being a pretty good offensive player. You look at his minor league numbers, and he hit at least 300 just about every year up and down through that minor league system. Signed when he was 18 years old, and immediately went off and hit 319 in his first professional summer.
Votto will get the force out at second base, and that will end the inning. Good pickup by Joey. Reds coming up. Bottom of the second with a 1-0
lead. Between the breaks here, when the cameras go off and the announcers stay busy, well, up in the TV booth it gets interesting and interesting. And I think this is actually a petri dish for creativity. Tom Brenneman drops his phone
on the deck.
And now we've got a long pole with some sticky tape on it. And our good man Tommy is trying to get that nice sticky at the very end. Tom Brenneman worried because the phone is ringing over and over and over again.
Look at that.
I think a frog gig would have worked. And there it is. Never a dull moment, folks, up here in the Champion Windows broadcast booth. I can guarantee you that.
You're right about that. Todd Frazier to lead it off. He'll be followed by Zach Cozart and then Ryan Hannigan.
Actually, that wasn't Tommy. It was Ron Meckler.
Ronnie, thank you very, very much.
Keep that pole that you had handy, Ronnie, because you'll probably need it again before
probably right.
The season is over.
Might have to reach down and pick you up off that thing. 0-2 to Frazier.
Well, maybe the frog gig's not such a good idea.
Todd 2 out of 9 to begin the year. He had an RBI single to drive in Jay Bruce, part of a 4-run 4th inning in the win here last night. Reds scored all of their runs prior to that 9th inning. In the 4th, that one just fouled by about a foot, maybe less.
Only a couple of hits for Todd, but I think he's hit the ball harder than what his average shows. Hit a sizzling line drive last night. Hit one right back up the box off of C.J. Wilson, nearly undressed the opposing pitcher. That time gets his hands inside to be able to get the bat head on an inside fastball. Boy, he's the kind of kid you really root for.
Hammered down the line. If it's fair, forget about it. And that is a home run by Frazier. saw it last year. There is plenty of thunder in this young man's bat. And the Reds lead 2-0 on home runs from Choo and Frazier.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about.
You heard him. That's what I'm talking about.
Blanton trying to go outside, and you see that ball coming right back over the center of the plate. Look at the reaction by Conger. He realizes that ball is not coming back.
Another hard hit ball. This one by Kozar and wide at Cayaspo, and that's out number 1 here in the second inning. You take a look down the line. Frazier had a bird's eye view of it. Right there, hooking inside the fair pole. So now Ryan Hannigan, 1 out of 8. Leadoff man in each of the first 2 innings for the Reds, inflicting damage on Blanton and the Angels. Choo on the first pitch in the first inning. A home run to left center field, and now Frazier down the left field line to begin the second. Breaking ball just a little bit low. Ball and 2 strikes on Hannigan. Well, the Angels front 2 in their rotation. We've seen them already. Really counting on Jared Weaver, a 20-game winner from last year, and C.J. Wilson, who had a great first half, a very poor second half, but won 13 games. For the next 3 in their rotation, their first game this year will be their first game pitching for the Angels. Blanton today. Jason Vargas came over from Seattle. That one in the air to right field, and an easy play for Hamilton. And then the former Atlanta Brave Tommy Hanson, who's been plagued by arm troubles, primarily shoulder problems, fits in that number 5 spot. And I tell you, for a team with a payroll upwards of $140 million, they let Dan Herron leave as a free agent. They traded away Irvin Santana. We saw him with Kansas City during spring training. Arroyo a fly ball into short left center field. Trumbo will handle it, and that is all. And of course they let Zach Greinke leave as a free agent. Frazier a home run, and the Reds at the end of 2 off and running in front of the Angels, 2-0. The Reds right along with you. You can do it by MLB.TV. 11 years celebrating in HD quality now. MLB.TV Premium. Visit Reds.com to order and get more details. MLB.TV baseball everywhere. Chris, you'll be dialed in undoubtedly to Major League Baseball sometime tonight.
No doubt.
On MLB TV.
Just like I was last night.
Say a lot of folks are right now. I mean, that little video we showed you.
You mean of you getting your phone back?
I didn't get it.
Well,
but
Ronnie did.
The ingenuity involved of bringing that baby off the ledge. And I mean, I'm hearing from people all over the country dialed in, I'm sure, to MLB.TV, including my tired young friend Bill Hemmer. But he's in the Fox News building, so they're probably dialed in on everything that's Fox.
You really know him?
I do, and like I told him, he said, you never did have good hands, meaning I dropped the phone. And I just sent him back. I said, they've always been better than yours. Breaking ball high to Joe Blanton to begin the inning. 2-0 Reds on home runs by Shin-Soo Choo and Todd Frazier. Well, you know, you and I were kidding around about this, but on a serious note, we also discussed it really is amazing between MLB.TV and satellite television in this world that we live in now, how many people, if they have the time and depending on what their job is, his plant has gone on strikes, you know, whether it's Hemmer in New York, Chris Rose sent a text from MLB Network, he's watching the game. Now those guys have jobs where it's probably not all that tough to find the game on TV, but anywhere else, how many people right now are tuned in to a Major League Baseball game, and it doesn't matter where they live? It's great.
It is. Gives you a reason for staying inside on a cold day.
Frazier with a nice pickup and throws out Trout to take away at least a double. Well, Frazier in the bottom of the second inning with a home run and an outstanding play the next half inning at third.
Well, you've got to play him in because of the threat of a bunt. And last night, Trout hit a sizzling shot down there. That time a high hopper that had to go to his backhand side. Interesting. During our Tech Talk in our pregame show, Reds Live, we talked to Todd Frazier about making a backhand play. And there he is. Did it just like he described it. Set your feet, set your shoulders in direction to home first base, and throw your man out.
2 down in the inning now. Ibar, he doubled on a 2-strike pitch. Looks at a strike. Last time, his last at bat, he swung at that pitch. And we're very much looking forward to that video you had of Johnny Cueto from the Dominican Republic celebrating his mother's birthday. Breaking ball in the outside corner, strike 2. That'll be a Tech Talk feature. That'll be a feature, not a Tech Talk feature.
Yeah. Double feature.
That video's like the Holy Grail. We keep hearing about it and just can't seem to find it.
Hang in there.
One and 2 on Ibar. And a little bit too low. The count even up on the Angels shortstop Eric Ibar. Shoots it into left field, and he's 2 for 2. So the Angels with a hit in every inning. Ibar double in the first. Kendrick a single in the second. And now Ibar once more with 2 outs here in the third, and the inning continues for Albert Pujols. Albert just missed a home run, barely foul down the left field line his first time up, and wound up grounding out to Zach Cozart a couple of pitches later. Now Ibar, you got to keep an eye on him. 24 stolen base attempts last year, was thrown out only 4 times. Stung down the left field line into the corner. Going to have to get to it quickly, and that ball dies against the wall out there. They're going to hold Ibar at third base. Heisey missed a cutoff man, Cozart, but look at Brandon Phillips alertly coming all the way down into foul ground down the third base line to field it on one hop and preventing Ibar from trying to score.
That's one of those plays where you only have one cutoff man. A lot of times you'll have 2 cutoff men, one in front of the other in case the outfielder misses the first guy. There's a guy behind him. But you're right, Brandon Phillips comes from way out of position. And Heisey just picks the ball up and tries to get it back into the infield, but there's Phillips to make sure that ball doesn't get away and score a run. That's one reason why Dino Ebel, the third base coach, ended up holding the runner at third base, because he saw Brandon Phillips coming over there.
So now Josh Hamilton, he struck out swinging with a runner at second base or a runner at third base in the first inning, and not this time. First pitch single into center field. 1 run scores. Here comes a throw, and out by a mile is Pujols. Whoa, they called him safe. And really no argument from Ryan Hannigan, which tells you either he dropped the ball and And maybe Hannigan will pick up the argument now. That ball arrived 5-7 feet before Pujols even slid into the plate. You cannot make a better throw than Choo delivered from center field, clearing the pitcher's mound on one hop.
And it was on the money and it was ahead of the runner, but I think the way that Ryan Hannigan was positioned, I guess he never touched him. He made a sweep tag right there, but as Pujols came in, he never got the glove on the leg of Pujols, because Pujols slides into his leg and he kind of spins him around.
It's a good call.
That is a good call.
So Josh Hamilton gets his first hit as an LA Angel, and in doing so ties the game with a 2-run single into center field. Oh, what an outstanding throw by Choo.
I don't think I've ever seen Ryan Hannigan do that. Have a play like that where he's got the ball well in advance of the runner coming home and not be able to get the tag down.
All of this noise began after the first two were retired in the inning. And that's what the Angels believe they have a chance to do to people a lot this season. Hits and runs in a hurry. See Pujols down there stretching out that calf muscle. A lot of people were wondering, as he was sort of limping around last night, if something was wrong with his knee. But apparently it's a calf muscle that has been bothering Pujols a little bit. One and two to Trumbo. Weak roller at Brandon Phillips. And this will end the inning, but not before the Angels tie the game. Hits by Ibar and Pujols. A game-tying 2-run single by Hamilton. Your Toyota dealer. Visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. And by JTM Food Group. Let's create great dishes together. Well, the Reds jumped out to a 2-0 lead, and now all of a sudden we're tied up on this Thursday afternoon at Great American Ballpark. Get a look from the stands. Just beyond the third base bag as here's Choo. He homered on the first pitch of a game by Blanton. Tickets are available for the weekend. A night game tomorrow night against the Washington Nationals. On the ground to the right side, and Kendrick will throw out Choo. That'll be a night game tomorrow night, fireworks and all. Giveaways on Saturday and Sunday, and both of those games will be day games. Series finale will have Johnny Cueto against Steven Strasburg. Of course, whenever the Nationals and the Reds get together, you're virtually assured of an outstanding pitching matchup. Nationals loaded with starters, Reds loaded with starters. Danny Herron will start it tomorrow night against Homer Bailey. That's a great matchup. Ross Detweiler against Mike Leake on Saturday, and then Cueto v. Strasburg on Sunday. Number of day games around baseball today. One of them involving National League Central Division foes. Rubber game in Pittsburgh. Cubs and the Pirates. Chicago a 1-0 lead. That game in the bottom of the third inning. Heisey gone on strikes, and right now on FoxSportsOhio.com, catch up on Bengals free agency moves. Read up how Brandon Phillips and Chris Heisey are going to adjust to their new spots in the batting order. And you can chat with Hal McCoy, the Hall of Famer, right now. Get complete coverage of today's action and all Ohio sports. Brought to you by 1-800-SAFE-AUTO. Drive less, drive safe, and spend less. First strikeout for Blanton. 2 around the 3rd inning. Votto grounded to short. His only time up. Three and one to Votto. No fastball for Votto on a 3-1 pitch.
Well, if you're looking for a fastball anyway from Joe Blanton, it may be a long wait. He does not throw very many of them. He's down around 45 to 47% of his overall pitches are fastballs. Everything else is slider, changeup, cutter. And it's funny, as you watch him from the center field camera, you can see a lot of those pitches really resemble each other. I mean, they're all anywhere from 81 to 88 miles an hour. One moves one way, one moves the other, but none of his pitches really have a dramatic break. But they're all around the strike zone.
Votto takes a walk, and for Votto, that's already 5 of them through the first 2 games and 2 at-bats.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting talking to Joey Votto a lot in spring training. One of the things he mentioned is, you know, when people ask him about goals, you know, how many do you want to drive in? How many home runs do you want to have? Do you have a goal as far as your batting average? He says, I don't look at it like that. He goes, I just don't want to make outs. I want to make every one of my plate appearances really tough on the other pitcher and not make an out.
Now Brandon Phillips. Ball 1. Blanton wanted that call, didn't get it. Started 2 and took it down low. So now Brandon ahead of 2 balls and no strikes. Better numbers for Brandon a year ago, nearly 30 points better when you put people on base and when he comes up there with the bases clean. He's got Votto at first with 2 away here in the bottom of the 3rd of a 2-2 game. Very similar to the pitch thrown at 1-0 that was called ball 2. And that one called a strike. Brandon waving that back 2, 3, 4 a 5th time, and now waiting on Blanton in a 2-1 delivery. Strike 2. And Brandon 2 times in a row now has sort of dropped his head in disgust, either that he didn't swing or he didn't like the call. You can see they're all bunched right there together. Every pitch in this at bat. Votto running, and a ground ball into center field, and Votto will make the turn. He'll go to 3rd. So the Reds trying to do with 2 outs and nobody on what the Angels did with 2 outs and nobody on in the top of the inning, And that puts a crooked number up on the board.
Well, Votto running on a 2-2 pitch, and it was the shortstop that stayed at home. Had he been the one that was going to the bag to cover, he may have had a chance to get that ball that was hit kind of up the middle right here. They see Ibar stays his spot to make sure that a ball doesn't go in the normal shortstop hole. And Reds go first to third on a ground ball, and a chance now for Jay Bruce.
Jay 1 for 10 so far this year. And Jay is already getting his 8th at bat this season. We mentioned he has 10 at bats overall. This will be his 8th at bat already this year with a runner in scoring position. And he's still looking for his first hit in such situations. So right now would be a good time to get it and break a 2-2 tie here in the bottom half of the 3rd inning. Bruce down a strike.
You know, that stat you just referred to, Tom, about him having runners on base, that's a new stat that Stats Inc. is keeping this year. For all the sabermetric people that are breaking it down, it's the PLOB, which is players left on base. It's just a raw number. Doesn't tell you how many outs or where they are. So it's not necessarily, it doesn't give you all that much insight, but gives you an idea of who's been up with a lot of runners on and who hasn't.
0-1 to Bruce. And he is quickly behind 0-2. A 2-out walk to Votto. He goes first to third on a single by Phillips. And now Jay trying to pick up a base hit, work his way out of a 0-2 count. Blanton ready. And misses wide of the zone. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
I can talk about Bruce coming up with all the runners on base. He trails only Adrian Beltre here early in the year as the most number of players left on base. Beltre's had a chance for 13 of them, and Bruce has had a chance for 10.
So this would be 12.
They actually, Beltre with 12, Bruce with 11. So this would be 14 or 13. There goes math in public again.
There we go. 1-2 on Jay Bruce.
You get down to a rubber game against a good team, and usually what it turns out to be is those teams that are able to come up with the hit with runners on base. Simple as that.
Blanton a long look in. Votto at third. Phillips on at first. And able to foul it off to the third base side out of play and wait around for a better pitch. Bruce looking to deliver here with 2 on and 2 out. Down a ball and 2 strikes in a 2-2 game last of the 3rd inning. And Blanton coming to the plate. Struck him out. 2-2 game. We go to the 4th. It'll be a day after tomorrow here at Great American Ballpark. So you get 2 games for the price of 1. Come down to see the Reds and the Nationals. That game will begin at 1:10. And then 30 minutes at the conclusion of that game, the University of Cincinnati, the Bearcats, will take on the University of Louisville Cardinals. And a pleasure to be joined by the head coach, year number 17 at the University of Cincinnati as its head baseball coach, the skipper, Brian Cleary. Brian, how are you?
I'm fine. Thanks for having me.
Nice to see you.
Oh, good to be seen.
You guys are off and running. You've got a fair number of games already under your belt.
We do. The college season starts before the big league season, but now that we've had our opening day here, everybody can tune in to college baseball as well. But we have played quite a bit and getting into the meat of the Big East schedule. And we've got a big weekend coming up here with Louisville.
How you like your team?
I like our team. We've got a younger group, and we've certainly had some bumps. But we're getting better. We've got guys that I think are going to be really good players as they continue to play, and some guys that will go on to play beyond UC, as has been the case for us. So I like our group. We're getting better. We're not there yet, but we're on our way.
Brian, the inaugural season of the Reds Collegiate Invitational, take us through that. What does that mean?
Well, we're just very grateful for obviously the opportunity to play here. Our kids, it'll be a real treat for our kids to play in a big league park, but thrilled also with the generosity of the Reds. Very gracious of them and the Castellinis to open the park and partner with us in this.
Well, you know, it really is an interesting partnership or a marriage of some kind, and obviously getting stronger thanks to the ownership group now. But I mean, you look at your stadium, you know, Marge Schott, Johnny Bench, and the ties with the University of Cincinnati. So there's been that tie there at least for a while, but maybe just getting a little stronger now. I
think it is getting stronger now, and like I said, we're grateful. It speaks to, you know, it's not empty talk when the Reds go out of their way. At first I thought this would be too difficult to pull off, but at every step of the way the Reds made it happen. And so it really speaks to not only, you know, putting a championship team on the field, which they were obviously committed to, but actually being the partner that they talk about. And I think the public has noticed that, and certainly we're grateful, and the Castellinis have been very gracious, and so we're thankful. It's going to be a neat day, beautiful weather, and it's going to be a great day for us to expose college baseball and our program to a greater audience.
Helpful, I guess, also, Brian, maybe into recruiting. I know you like to emphasize local talent from the Cincinnati area, and of course that includes Southern Ohio and Kentucky and Indiana. Put you guys a little bit more on the map from those guys who might be looking at Bearcats.
Well, sure. I think there's a lot of attention being focused on this game. We're going to play a great opponent, and they've really set the standard in the Big East that we're trying to follow. So we've got 2 local programs here. We're going to have a lot of recruits and players and high school kids with their eyes on this, no question about it.
Coach, I know that's been a big part of your overall recruiting philosophy, is recruiting the area around here, as Chris has pointed out. And you know, obviously, I mean, you've sent a lot of guys on to professional baseball. There's so much talk about Kevin Youkilis. Everybody knows about him playing at Sycamore High School and then coming to play for you at UC, and Josh Harrison, and we've seen him come through the big leagues. And there are many other guys. Tony Campana, we saw him last year with the Chicago Cubs, and now he's with the Arizona Diamondbacks. But there are a lot of other players you have playing in the minor leagues trying to work their way up to the big league level, and that can't hurt when you're trying to recruit local guys either.
No, I think we've got a good record of providing an opportunity for players who come and work hard and pay attention to move on to the next level, those with that ability. And we're real proud also of the guys that not only have gotten a chance to play pro baseball, but have gone and played for a while. And not all of them have gotten to the big leagues, but we've had guys really climb the ladder in pro baseball, and so we're proud of that.
In the air, foul ground for Frazier, and Arroyo's retired the first 2 here in the top half of the 4th inning.
Now, Brian, while we were down in Arizona in the sunny skies of Goodyear, Arizona, we're checking the weather every day, and this was kind of a tough season. I mean, I know that the college baseball season starts earlier than any other. Starts earlier than high school. You guys are out there, and boy, it had to be brutal early and late February, early March.
This was a cold one. There's no question about it. And we thought of you often in Goodyear, wishing that we might have been there. We've played some cold days, no question about it. But nothing that the other teams we're playing against haven't also dealt with. But I think spring is here, and it'll be here. It sounds like tomorrow, but for sure on Saturday.
What trips did you take so far?
We've been in Florida we've been in Florida twice so far at your alma mater, USF, and we opened the season down on the east coast of Florida. We played in Greenville, South Carolina, in some decent weather, not what's normal, but great event down there in the Pro Park in Greenville. And we've also been to New York as part of the Big East series, so that was a little bit colder, but we've been able to spend a lot of time south of here.
You know, the other Reds connection that I failed to remember, but you became the winningest head baseball coach in the history of the University of Cincinnati program, eclipsing the record of our late great dear friend Mr. Glenn Sample. I'm sure he had a tremendous amount of influence on you in your career.
I've said often, as a first-time head coach and somebody that was new to the city, he couldn't have been more gracious with me and really took me under his wing. And early on, when we weren't as talented as maybe we are now and had some rough days, he was always there with a kind word and some kind notes of support. So he was a great man, as we all know, and was very gracious to me, and for that I'll always be grateful.
Well, we want to wish you all the best, Coach, this season, and obviously a great opportunity. Your team coming here to play at Great American Ballpark. Have you guys had a chance to play in any other big league park? I mean, maybe where you on a trip somewhere. Maybe that's a dumb question, but you were down in Florida. Who knows?
We have
right place, right time.
No, we have not. The Big East tournament is at Bright House Networks Field, which is a spring training park, as you know.
Right.
But no, not at a big league ballpark. And that I'm aware, there's never been a double up with a big league game. There's been other college games in a big league park. So, needless to say, we're excited.
Coach, thanks for the time. Good luck.
Thank you for having me.
Saturday, they'll be right here. The University of Cincinnati Bearcats and the Louisville Cardinals. Part of our Major League Baseball collegiate doubleheader at Great American Ballpark Saturday. Come on. Spears from Verona, Kentucky, who currently drives a 2013 Avalon, will win the new Tundra on display here at Great American Ballpark. And why not register for your chance to win it at an upcoming game? All you need to do is visit your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealer. Time now for our AT&T trivia question today. Name the 4 active managers who were teammates of Dusty Baker. This is a good question. Really good question.
Well, we know Mike Scioscia's one.
Yes. I think the other 2, or the other 3, I beg your pardon.
Oh, we talked about one of the others already.
Teammate.
And Ron Renicky, who was a manager up there in Milwaukee. I mean,
so
that's
you got
a giveaway.
2. Now, the other 2, I think, are going to be much harder to get. I can tell you right now, and I'm not any good at this, so it's really not much of a statement. The other 2, I would have been here a long, long time. Now, their only other, you're taking 3 managers after the 2 you named and Mike and Dusty Baker. So you got 27 other guys to pick from.
Remember that Dusty played for the Braves.
That's right.
And he played for the Oakland Athletics.
And a little bit for the Giants, right? Or no?
No. Managed the Giants, played in Oakland.
Giants, and a coach with the Giants.
So the hint I would give would
you know what? He did play 1 year for the Giants. I was right on that. 1984.
Okay.
Frazier lifts a fly ball into left field. Trumbo at the base of the wall. Cannot get it. And Frazier into second base with a double. He is homered, and now the ball gets away, and he's coming to third. Boy, the Angels are having all kinds of problems with their defense. It's been the infield the first couple of days. And now Trumbo and Trout and Hamilton rather lazily went after balls in the outfield, and this one cost him an extra 90 feet. Now,
Frazier,
he's saying home run.
It's going to be a home run. I think that's the reason why he wasn't close to third base anyway. Dusty Baker's going to come out and ask for a review.
And they can replay this now.
Got a lot of air under this one.
Looks like it hit the yellow line to me, but that's at first look. Yep, that's on the yellow line. That's not a home run. You can see it just come right down.
The yellow line is in play. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
So it's got to go over the yellow line. This should be a quick review here.
I mean, the umpire's job can be hard enough as far away as they are, even a second base umpire, on balls driven into deep left center and deep right center down the lines, to tell if a ball got over the wall or maybe hit the concrete railing beyond the yellow stripe.
Or was
if you start making the yellow stripe in play, it makes it that much tougher.
Yeah, but with all the technology we have today, can't you design it so that if a ball hits it, it would light up a light automatically? The scoreboard would go off. If the home team hit it, it would go black if it was the visiting team to hit it. That way you know immediately.
Well, if you're going to do that, and with all the expanse of an outfield, why wouldn't you do the same thing up the lines?
Yeah.
I mean, tennis does it.
you're going to do that, why don't you do it with the strike zone?
No problem.
Just as long as they don't do it with the announcers.
That's coming soon. To the joy of many.
In some people's consideration, not soon enough.
So CB Buckner and company will, or actually the crew chief is the one who will go in and have a look at the replay. The home plate umpire, CB Buckner, is still out there on the field. Dale Scott is the chief of this particular umpiring crew, and they're coming right out with a verdict. Double. Triple.
They gave him a triple or a double and an error?
They charged an error. So now we have it straightened out. A double and an error on the center fielder Trout. He was the one backing up the play. Tell you,
he's lucky he doesn't have 2 errors.
You're right. You know, I was starting to say Trout was not happy when the Angels made the decision that he was going to play left field this year and that Peter Borges was going to play center. That'll happen when they get back to using a DH. But a couple of plays today already. And yes, Trout has made spectacular defensive plays almost all of last year. But playing in a brand new ballpark, he has not looked very comfortable out there, at least during this day game today. So now Kozar with a chance to give the Reds a lead, and looks at a fastball right down the middle of the plate. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Now the Angels are playing their defense halfway, just about even with the bag. They're trying to make it tough on Todd Frazier to make a decision whether to go or not. With nobody out, probably does not have the contact play.
Chris, you said it accurately so an inning ago when Jay Bruce came up there with 2 on and 2 out in a 2-2 game. Which team will either get the hits with runners on base, or when they have situations like this, will get a runner in from third with fewer than 2 men out? And Kozar's chance right now. He is 0 for 9 to begin this season.
He doesn't need a hit. That's the good news for Zach Kozar. What you need to do is just put the ball in play, preferably into the outfield.
And this is not going to do the trick. First out of the inning. So now the question becomes, if you are the Angels and we're only in the bottom half of the 4th inning, would you consider walking the number 8 hitter? Set up a double play. You have the pitcher waiting in the on-deck circle. Hank Conger's looking in the dugout, probably exactly what Mike Scioscia is letting him know about that very topic right now. Hannigan is an excellent contact hitter. We know that. Maybe more so on just pure contact than virtually every batter the Reds have in their lineup.
No doubt.
And it looks like they're going to try and come after him, at least to begin the at-bat. Infield all the way in now.
Wouldn't be surprised to see a pitch out here. Nope.
Hannigan in an 0-2 hole.
Well, that's the best fastball of the day by Joe Blanton. First one at 90 miles an hour. He's bowing his neck a little bit with a man on third base.
So Ryan Hannigan down to the count, 0-2, infield in, runner at third. And this will get the job done, or will it? Short right field. They're going to bring the runner. Here comes a throw, and it is 15 feet offline by Hamilton. Not very deep, but deep enough. And the Reds have a 3-2 lead on a sac fly from Ryan Hanigan.
Joe Blanton, looking for another pop-up, tried to go upstairs to Ryan Hanigan, but Hanigan got enough wood on it to get it into the outfield. Hamilton, with maybe the best arm in the ballpark today, just runs that ball up the third baseline and no play at the plate. Well, that's where an outfield error, where you're allowed to just move up an extra base, just means all the difference in the world right there.
So 2 down and the base is empty. A run home. Reds 3, Angels 2. And here's Arroyo with an 0-2 count. Speaking of Josh Hamilton, he will be returning to Dallas, Texas, Arlington, Texas, for the Rangers home opener tomorrow, where Hamilton spent the last 5 seasons. An all-star every year with the Rangers, an MVP, led them to the World Series 2 years in a row for the first time in franchise history. Had a lot of very interesting comments about Rangers fans after he's left. Some will read it one way, others will read it another way. Out of there swinging is Arroyo, and that will end the inning. But the Reds get a run to go back in front. We move to the 5th. Reds 3, Angels 2. In American Ballpark tomorrow night, the Reds begin a 3-game series, and again, it's a good series. Washington Nationals coming to town. Post-game fireworks tomorrow night, every Friday during the regular season. Tomorrow, thanks to our friends from Klosterman Baking Company. For tickets to tomorrow's game or any game the rest of the year, 513-381-REDS. Log on to Reds.com. You can also visit select Kroger locations.
Well, that was some firework display last night.
Well, they're the best. Talk about it all the time. Folks from Rossi, based out of here, known all over the world for their fireworks. And they use the Reds games as a warm-up to the big Labor Day weekend leading to the Cincinnati Bell WEBN fireworks. And so we are very, very lucky to have them do all their handiwork and try out all their new material and some of their great old stuff throughout the entire summer on Fridays, and a special treat last night on opening night. Top of the order, here's Trout. Breaking ball low and away. Trout has struck out and had a double taken away on an outstanding play made at third base by Todd Frazier back in the 3rd inning. Reds had home runs from Choo and Frazier leading off each of the first 2 frames. Angels had a 2-out rally against Arroyo in the 3rd on a hit by Ibar, a double by Pujols, and a 2-run 2-out single by Josh Hamilton. And now the Reds recapture the lead in the bottom of the 4th inning on a double by Frazier, went to 3rd on an error by Trout, and Hanigan knocked in Todd with a fly ball. 3-0 to Trout. There's ball 4. So Arroyo has walked the man who led the American League in stolen bases last year. Trout, he had 49 of them.
You know, one of the things that Bronson Arroyo does is feeds on a hitter's aggressiveness. And Mike Trout looked like this time said, you know what, I'm not going to chase any pitches. I'm going to go up there taking a little bit. Now, Arroyo didn't give much to look at early on. Both the first 2 pitches, fastball and curveball, a ball. He misses with a changeup. He throws a 78-mile nothing right down the middle on a 3-0 pitch. That's the only strike he got in the entire at bat. Finally came back with 86 up and in, and he's walked his first hitter of the day.
And here's a guy that's given him the most trouble so far here today, and that would be Eric Ibar. Ibar had double to right field in the first inning and a single to left center and scored a run in the third. Shows bunt, takes a strike. That walk, the first of the game, issued by Arroyo. He fanned 4 Angels through the front 3 innings. Frazier creeping down the line along the infield grass over at third. Arroyo a long look in. Glance over at Trout. And the 0-1. A ball and a strike. Trout was only thrown out 5 times all of last year. 49 stolen bases.
Now, this Red staff, though, has really concentrated on keeping runners close and giving Hannigan and Devin Mesoraco a chance to throw runners out. Last year, only 7 successful stolen bags on Arroyo. And catchers threw out 5, and of course that was mainly Ryan Hannigan. I mean, every one of them, even Matt Latos, who always came over here with a reputation for giving up a lot of stolen bases, was able to tighten it up a little bit. Makes a difference if you keep that double play in order.
But it goes, and a ground ball that rolls through into left field, and Trout will coast into third base. Well, you can't draw it up any better than that. And now they're on the corners with none out.
Boy, 3rd hit of the afternoon for Eric Ibar. This is a pretty good little bit of hitting right here. He knows the shortstop's probably going to go over and cover, so he's thinking he's going to hit it to the left side. Didn't realize he'd get it that close to the third baseman, Frazier. The whole idea of those first 2 guys in this order, set the table for Pujols, Hamilton, Trumbo, Kendrick. This is where it really gets tough for Arroyo.
Albert Pujols is grounded out to short and doubled. Scored a run. So that 3-2 lead for the Reds very much hangs in the balance now. Runners on the corners for the Angels and none out. High fly ball. Plenty deep enough to bring in Trout. Choo the catch. His throw will go to second and the runner will stay put. 3-3 game just like that. The sac fly RBI, the first run batted in this year for Albert Pujols. Boy, he is not moving well at all.
You know, he's got a history of having plantar fasciitis. His heel has bothered him for years. I'll tell you what, whether he's hurt or not, he will play.
So now Hamilton, he had a 2-run single to get the Angels on the board in the 3rd inning. 3 runs, 7 hits for LA, 3 runs, 5 hits for the Reds. Ball 1 away.
You know, when you watch Albert move like that, and then you look at his numbers the last 2 years, this year, so far it's only 3 games. Last year in the month of April, how slow he's gotten out of the gate. You know, there was a huge outcry from the public, the fans in St. Louis, when the Cardinals did not sign him to a long-term deal. But I'm wondering if maybe there are people now thinking, hey, you know what, long-term, maybe it was the best that they let him walk and go out to the West Coast in another league.
Well, look, the Reds have done it. A lot of teams are starting to do it more and more because the market is taking it that way. But you have to know no matter who the player is. You can give any player an 8, 9, 10-year contract. You're basically paying them in more times than not for the first probably 5 or 6 years. 7 maybe at best of that deal. Remains to be seen. There are guys that will buck that trend. It's a long contract.
It sure is. And really what it's been proven, you can look up and down the history of baseball, when as players get to be near age 40, they don't just gradually slow down in their production. It is, a lot of times it just falls off a cliff. So you got to be prepared to pay them big time the last couple of years, and they really have a part-time player. the contract now the Yankees have with Alex Rodriguez. And when he signed that deal, I mean, he was the epitome of in good health, looked like a guy that could play forever.
One and two on Josh Hamilton, and again a throw over to first. Talked about Ibar earlier, at 20 stolen bases in 24 attempts last year. Ibar a 3-for-3 afternoon. One and two on Josh Hamilton, and Arroyo to the plate. Barely getting a piece of that one, Hamilton, to stay alive.
Well, struck him out on that same pitch, a changeup his first time up. Hamilton then went up his last at bat and got on the first pitch swinging and lined a single into center field. Arroyo's probably thinking, I really don't need to throw him a strike right here. He's aggressive enough that I can tease him. Maybe get him to roll over on one, get a double play ball.
Got him a chase down and away.
Well, that's the kind of pitch, really. It's such a good pitch by Bronson Arroyo. He'd like to see Hamilton make contact on that because he's going to do nothing but roll over and hit a ground ball and probably turn two.
So now one more out to get here in this fifth inning. A fifth inning which the Angels, for a second time today, have come back to tie the game. 3-3 our score, and here's Trumbo, struck out and bounced out to Brandon Phillips. Strike one. You talked about how good Reds pitchers have gotten as far as slowing down the opposition's running game, and Hannigan primarily the catcher of this Reds draft day in and day out. Last year Hannigan threw out 49% of would-be base stealers. That was #1 among all major league catchers. #1.
That's got to be close to #1 in the last 10 years. I mean, that is a phenomenal number. I mean,
you look
really
at Hannigan,
good is around 30%. Really good.
Yep. When you look at Hannigan last year, #1 throwing out base runners from a percentage standpoint. He had 3 passed balls the entire year. 3 of them all season. And his catcher's ERA was the lowest among all catchers in the major leagues, with at least 110 games played behind the plate. When he was behind the plate, Reds pitcher's ERA was 3.04, and you always add the asterisk, playing in the most hitter-friendly ballpark in the league. Got to have good pitchers, but Chris, you know better than anybody the value of a guy you trust back there behind the plate.
You ask the pitchers who they like to throw to, and Ryan Hannigan's top of the list. In fact, he kind of broke onto the scene as becoming Bronson Arroyo's personal catcher after David Ross went to Atlanta, left that vacancy open. I mean, here's a guy, Ryan Hannigan, when he came out of Rollins College, didn't even have a sniff of a pro contract. Nobody drafted him, went to a Reds tryout camp and ended up signing, and look where he is now.
One and two to count on Trumbo. It's 2 pitches in a row that Hannigan has just roadblocked. Pitches in the dirt, preventing Ibar from getting into scoring position, and now Hannigan wants to talk with his buddy Arroyo before this 2-2 pitch.
you might say that catching Bronson Arroyo is like playing a video game. You know, it's like you can be creative back there. He can give you any kind of pitch you want. 3 or 4 different locations on his breaking ball, you know, sidearm, high arm, overhand. Same way with the changeup, 2-seamer, 4-seamer.
Fly ball into center field, and this will end the inning. Tell you what, pretty good job by Arroyo.
Very good.
First and third, nobody out. Pujols, Hamilton, and Trumbo coming up, and only a sac fly. But a sac fly with a tying run.
At King's Auto Mall, the most extensive highlights you'll get of Reds, and you'll hear from the manager and players before anyone else. It's Reds Live postgame, and we like to invite you to check out KingsHondaUSA.com. Jim Day with you, and one thing that you might not see Joey Votto ever do again is slide head first. You remember when he came back from injury last year, he was sliding head first to avoid sliding on that injured knee. Well, after opening day, when Ryan Ludwig injured himself with a head first slide, Dusty Baker, who's against head first sliding at any point, said, I'm not a told you so guy, but went up to Joey Votto and say, see what can happen. In fact, Joey Votto is trying to reinvent himself as a guy sliding. Dusty Baker said that one weakness to his game was that he decelerated when he was sliding. Well, in the spring, we showed you this. Each day he would go out, they would wet down the grass, and he would run as fast as he can, almost like a slip and slide when you were a kid, and slide on the opposite leg. He's trying to develop a new slide to not slide on that injured leg. It's been working so far, and that just shows you how much of a professional and perfectionist he is. Sliding, he even wants to perfect that, guys.
Well, Jim, it's interesting you bring that up because in the final exhibition game during spring training, the Reds played the Arizona Diamondbacks at Chase Field on that Saturday afternoon. Votto, his first time up in the game, hit a double that went all the way to the wall in the deepest part of right center field. It's one thing to practice it on a slip and slide, but Votto, of course, his work ethic, as you talked about, is always looking to take it then to the next level. When he hit that ball to right center field, there was not going to be a throw into second base. It was a routine stand-up double. What did Votto do? He slid on the right leg into second base. 2 batters later, Todd Frazier hit a ball to the wall in left center field. Votto, the runner at second, rounded third. There was not going to be a throw to the plate. What did he do? He slid in to home plate to practice it in a real game or close to a real game situation. His work ethic, it's amazing. You talk to scouts from other teams. We were, in fact, earlier today. And all of them, the stories just continue to circulate about the drive, the tenacity, the focus, the work ethic of Joey Votto. Killed by Heisey. And the Reds go back up in front again. It's a 5-3 game. Heisey got his first start last night, had a productive night, and now his first home run of this season breaks a 3-3 game.
He got a hanging breaking ball right there, little roller of a slider that he stays right on and lines it out of here. Boy, have more swings like that, take a lot of pressure off him, thinking that he has to do too much to stay in that left field spot in the absence of Ryan Ludwig.
Now Votto, he's grounded to short and drawn a walk. Chris, you have talked about the work ethic of Heisey over the last number of years and how, you know, he plays with a chip on his shoulder. I think that's a term you have used about being a low round draft pick, not a number 1 guy, not a number 2 guy.
He was down around 15. I think he came around, he looked around, he sees guys like Drew Stubbs, number 1 pick, Jay Bruce, number 1 pick. And he's thinking, you know, I could be as good as this guy, which is the kind of attitude that you have to be. It's almost like, well, why not me? And for every chance a guy like Heisey get, a number 1 pick is going to get 5 chances. So he's got to take those opportunities when they come and make sure the timing of his good performances are there. but he's going to get a chance now. And he doesn't do it in a cocky way, believe me. I mean, he's as nice a kid as you will ever meet in your life.
Rounded, down to earth as it gets.
But you can see he's got some inner drive that says, you know, I can be as good as this guy or that guy.
Two and two to Votto, still nobody out. Reds with a 5-3 lead, batting here in the last of the 5th inning. This is the decisive game. It is 3-game set. Angels won 3-1 in 13 innings in the opener. Reds on opening night last night, 5-4 winners on Votto's single in the bottom of the 9th inning. A lot more offense in this one here today than the first 2 games combined. One out in the inning. And you know, you catch yourself and you're saying more offense. The finale last night had more runs scored, but here we are today and we're only in the 5th.
Yeah.
They're already in the bottom of the 7th inning in Pittsburgh. That has been a pitching dominated series to begin the year. Cubs shutting out the Pirates, still a 1-0 game.
That's Travis Wood that started for the Cubs. He's gone 6 innings of 1-hit shutout baseball against James McDonald.
McDonald really a microcosm, if you will, of that Pirate season last year when he was on that run in April and May and June and was virtually unhittable, along with A.J. Burnett, number 1 and certainly 1A of that staff. But McDonald slumped badly over the second half of the season. Of course, the Pirates did the same. And despite being all those games over 500 late in the year, it was another year where they finished under 500. 1992 was their last winning season. The last time the Pirates had a winning year, and for those old enough to remember, Francisco Cabrera had the base hit into left field. Barry Bonds threw late to the plate. Sid Bream scored the winning run in the National League Championship Series. The Braves beat the Pirates. Two out.
So I'll ask the question again. Where were you when Sid slud?
I'd probably say Mount Adams if I were guessing.
Well, that's the way the Bear should be. Checking out his own electorate.
That's exactly right. No, I was living in Chicago at the time, but back here doing a lot of the University of Cincinnati basketball games back in the day. And so I'm guessing we were probably hanging with our good friend Mr. Ed Shepard and Pat Shepard and watching a little baseball. Where were you?
In front of the TV set.
Not in Mount Adams?
No.
Okay.
No, I was probably paying for my food back then, unlike you. Nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with it at all.
No.
Back in those days, that wasn't true. Maybe now, but I was paying for it back then. Grudgingly. 1-1 to Bruce. And that is right on the inside corner. And Jay did not like the call by C.B. Buckner. Jay has bounced to first and struck out. And that will end the inning. But the Reds get a hit from Choo to begin the inning. And then Chris Heisey plays long ball. His first of the year. Reds in front of the Angels 5-3. Honda dealers. Right now, our Honda game summary. Choo the home run. First pitch of the game by Joe Blanton. Frazier homered, leading off the second. Angels would tie the game in the third. A 2-out rally capped off by a 2-run single from Josh Hamilton. The Reds on a double and an error would take a 3-2 lead on a fly ball by Ryan Hannigan. Angels tied the game again in the fifth, and then in the bottom of the inning, Heisey to the seats and left with Choo aboard. So Arroyo is now given his third lead of the game. 2-0, 3-2, now 5-3. 6, 7, 8 in the batting order. Kendrick, Callaspo, and Conger. Kendrick 1 out of 2, singled into right center in the second inning, flied out to center in the fourth. That ball stung by Kendrick. And that's his second hit of the afternoon, and now all of a sudden the tying run once more come to the plate.
He's having a good series, Kendrick is.
Kendrick 3 out of 9 in the series with a home run. Now 3 out of 10, I beg your pardon. And now Callaspo. He hit a 2-run home run here off Matt Latos. In fact, that was a home run that chased Latos from the game in the 7th inning. Straightaway center field for Shin-Soo Choo. And that's out number 1 with Kendrick retreating back to first base and Hank Conger coming up. Conger bounced into a fielder's choice and Joey Votto ending the second inning. And then had a single to right through the hole in the fourth. 1 out of 2, his first start in the series. And Arroyo going to work on him. High pop up. Behind the second base bag, it'll be the shortstop Kozar. 2 out. And now a pinch hitter will bat for Joe Blanton. So his Angels debut is over after 5 innings. The Reds Fan Express back and rolling along. Time for you to get on board. Just bring your group to Great American Ballpark in style on the Fan Express to Reds Country. Call the Reds Group Sales at 513-765-7000, or you can log on to reds.com/Fan Express. J.B. Shuck, left-handed batter. We've seen him in each of the first 2 games of this series. Four of the 5 runs against Blanton earned runs. The only one that wasn't was a sac fly when the Reds scored in the 4th inning. Frazier doubled but went to third on the error by Mike Trout. Reds had 7 hits in the 5 innings against Blanton, who walked 1 and fanned 4. Heisey tracks it in left center, and Arroyo sails through the 6th, allows a leadoff hit, retires 3 in a row. Reds bat in the bottom of the inning with a 2-run lead. Of the year at afternoon tilt 110 Reds and the Nationals. Talked about giveaways this weekend. First 20,000 Reds fans receive a Reds fleece blanket thanks to Duke Energy Retail. And stick around, as we brought up earlier, the University of Cincinnati Bearcats will take on the University of Louisville in college baseball. So 2 for 1 on Saturday. 513-381-REDS. Visit select Kroger locations, or as always, visit reds.com/tickets. Bronson Arroyo, 93 pitches, and that would indicate his day is over. And he gives you what Arroyo does seemingly every time out, going all the way back to his first year as a Red back in 2006. Seems like, Chris, you look around, quality start, quality start, quality start.
Yeah, you do. But the first outing that you have after spring training is one of those where you're just glad to get it over with, because, you know, you worked all spring long. You know that none of the games you performed in down there really meant anything, but you want to get out there and get it going. And I'm sure he's happy with the way he ends up giving the Reds 6 innings, leaving the ball game up by 2, and maybe the Reds can play a little add-on against Mark Lowe. He's the new Angels pitcher. Alfredo Simon will come in to pick up for Bronson.
So Frazier, a real good day at the plate. Got that one off the end of the bat. He had homered and doubled here today, and it's popped up to the shortstop. And Ibar there to get it. Talked about Lowe.
He's a veteran. He's been around a while. Mark Lowe originally broke in with the Mariners in 2006. Played parts of 5 seasons with him. Then he went to Texas, and seems to be a general migration for players who play in Texas. Then they end up going to the Angels. Last year, 36 games for the Rangers.
Cozart, first pitch swinging, a pop up in the shallow right field. And just like that, 2 are out after a grand total of, what, 3 pitches by Lowe. Well, against this, potentially this Angels lineup, you need a lead to widen like Yosemite Park. They've got the top of the order coming up in the top half of the 7th inning. Hanahan waits in the on-deck circle. And now Ryan Hanigan, a sac fly, run batted into right field in the 4th inning. He flied out to right in the 2nd inning as well. And he's down a strike. Nice play by a young man down in the lower deck.
Off the ricochet.
Yes, indeed. He was just getting up from his seat down there. Foul ball hits off the facing just below our booth. And Johnny on the spot has a glove and makes a play. And there he goes. Right back to his seat. That's when it's meant to be. He was just walking back.
Mm-hmm.
So the Reds bullpen will be the story over the final 3 innings of this one, starting with Alfredo Simon. Be making his 2013 Reds debut after a sensational 2012. I mean, there is no way, no how anyone could have predicted the kind of year Simon would have after he was released by the Baltimore Orioles. The final cut of spring training last year, and the Reds scooped him up. And were it not for 1 or 2 bad outings near the end of the year, he would have finished the season with an ERA that began with the number 1. It was barely over 2. Hit hard into straightaway center field, but big part of the yard, and Trout at the track. So here we go. Trout to lead it off. Simon coming off. Reds in front at the end of 6, 5-3.
Authority of the Cincinnati Reds. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Time to answer our AT&T trivia question for today as we move to the 7th with the Reds leading 5-3. Good question today. We know Mike Scioscia was a teammate of Dusty Baker's, one of 4 active managers that were teammates with Dusty. Who are the other 3? You knew Ron Renneke. Did you know Ron Washington and Davey Johnson?
Ron Washington was the one that threw me. I believe he was a teammate when they played together in Oakland. Davey Johnson I knew because he was in that line with Davey Johnson and Hank Aaron. And
well, that was the year they were on the cover of Sports Illustrated. The Braves had 3 players hit 40 home runs in a year. Davey Johnson, I believe, Darrell Evans, and Hank Aaron were the 3.
And Davey Johnson set that record as a second baseman.
Right.
Which held for a long time.
So you knew Davey Johnson?
Yeah.
Wow. All right. We also know Alfredo Simon.
Also know he's coming into town this weekend.
He is.
So if you're a Davey Johnson fan, come out of the ballpark.
They're already here.
How do you know?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. They play this afternoon. I beg your pardon. He will be here tonight. Mike Trout, top of the order to lead things off against Alfredo Simon. And a big fellow who pitched for the Dominican Republic in the World Baseball Classic. The champion Dominican Republic delivers ball 1 to Trout. Simon did not pitch in either of the first 2 games. And then they brought J.J. Hoover back to pitch in last night's game. He got the final out. It was a big out. In relief of Latos with a 1-run lead, Hoover came in, walked a batter, allowed a hit, but then struck out this man, Trout. Angels wound up tying that game, an unearned run against Broxton in the 8th inning before the Reds won it in the bottom of the 9th.
You know, I stand corrected, and as I usually am by Joe Luckup, our statistician, who tells me that Ron Washington and Dusty Baker played together when they were with the Dodgers in 1977. That's why I always defer to somebody who knows what he's talking about when it comes to baseball history.
1-2 to Trout. Rocket into left center field, and quickly getting to it is Choo. And here comes Trout for second base. Here comes a throw, and man, he can run. And when that ball makes contact with his bat, and he's done a lot of swinging and missing in this series, but when it makes contact, it is a loud noise.
He's got a short, powerful swing. He's a big, powerful guy. And even though Choo gets to that ball quickly and gets it right back in, that Choo's got a gun.
Two-run lead for the Reds. We're in the 7th inning. And now the batter is Eric Aybar. Aybar, a perfect 3 for 3 afternoon, a double and a pair of singles. He'll advance a runner at the minimum. What a play by Phillips, and a throw is in time to get him. What a play by Brandon Phillips. Seemingly every night over the course of a long baseball season, he'll make a play like this.
Well, this is a saves a run right here because it's going right into the gap, and Brandon Phillips robs a base hit of Eric Aybar. Would have been his 4th hit of the game. First one of the year we've seen like that from Brandon.
1 out, runner at third for Pujols.
Nice pick at the other end by Votto.
Pujols 1 out of 2, doubled and scored in the 3rd, and a sac fly run batted in the 5th.
You don't really know right now, but a play like that for Brandon Phillips to turn a base hit into an out. At this stage in the ball game, you're up by 2, 7th inning, meat of the order coming up. You have no idea yet how big that play really is.
Trout the runner at third, 1 out. Pulled foul by Pujols. It's a ball and a strike.
One of the things that they were concerned about with Alfredo Simon in spring training is that he spent the entire spring with the WBC and didn't pitch very much. So when they finally got back to Reds camp, they tried to stretch him out as much as he could, you know, to try to condense what other guys had 6 weeks of spring training into about 2 weeks. Big guy with a very gifted arm. You've got to hand it to the Red scouting department, because when he became available last year, they wasted no time. Did a good job with Simon, a good job with Hoover when they picked him up from the Atlanta Braves in exchange for Juan Francisco.
Reds pitchers last year, 3rd in the National League in ERA, behind only the Nationals and the Dodgers, and they were fractionally behind them. They had the best road ERA in all of Major League Baseball, and their bullpen #1 in ERA saves and opponents batting average against. Breaking ball there, and Pujols fouls it off.
Those 2 deals I just talked about, you know, you get Hoover over from Atlanta, you get Alfredo Simon. They seemingly not big deals. They're kind of minor transactions. You're not sure if Hoover's going to make it or not, but if he doesn't come through, and if Simon doesn't come through, then you're spending all summer long trying to plug that hole, and you're running guys in and out. And as it was, they were a very stable bullpen last year, and mainly because the scouting was so good.
Ranks last season of Dusty Baker's bullpen, you can't do it much better. Second most strikeouts, 3rd fewest walks. 2-2 the count. Breaking ball after breaking ball. Pujols not having good swings, but he's having keep the at bat alive swing.
That's a right-handed Joey Votto right there. Used to say that about Joey Votto. He's a left-handed Albert Pujols. That might be the other way around. Maybe not yet, but certainly it's something that Joey Votto learned from Pujols, and Pujols has shown him how to stay alive in the AB.
Once more the 2-2 pitch, and once more they go out there with a breaking ball, and once more Pujols able to foul it off. It's quite a battle going on here. Will be the 8th pitch in the at bat for Simon against Pujols. Trout the runner at third. Reds 5 and the Angels 3 here in the top of the 7th inning. Down to third. Frazier thought about coming to the plate. Plays to first, takes he out there. That makes it a 5-4 game. You know, I was just getting ready to say, Chris, and I'll be doggone if they didn't do it, and it worked out. You know, I was going to ask you, have you lulled Pujols to sleep with all those breaking balls and then try to run a fastball by him? And man, they tried it, and he was right on it.
Yeah, you know, I don't think you lull a guy like Pujols to sleep. I mean, his reaction is so good, his pitch recognition is so good. With the infield playing back, there was no play at all for Frazier at home, and they bring it up now within 1.
Well, no Sean Marshall. We have not seen him in either of the first 2 games. He has what's called shoulder fatigue going on right now. And we're not going to see him again today. They're hoping he's ready by tomorrow. That's the kind of thing you never heard anything about it in spring training. So the only left-hander that is available today in that bullpen, if you were wondering, do you bring in a lefty to face Hamilton? But Manny Parra is still waiting to make his Reds debut. That was an area where when you had Jose Arredondo around here, you bring him in to face a left-handed hitter, and there are very few left-handed pitchers that got left-handed batters out with the frequency of the right-hander Arredondo. I think that young man is probably still in shock, and a lot of people are still quite surprised that he is not a part of this Reds bullpen based on what he has done since being healthy enough to take the ball following the Tommy John surgery. Arredondo last year appeared in 66 games, had a 2.9 ERA, and a very, very low opponent's batting average against. 2-2 to Hamilton.
Of course, they know him very well here in Los Angeles. Played a couple of years with the Angels before he injured himself, and they went on the DL with a Tommy John surgery. The ball ended up, it did hit Josh Hamilton.
It did.
Right on the toe.
Well, now Simon's got to get down to business. All of a sudden, you have the go-ahead run coming to the plate in the form of Mark Trumbo, who led this Angels team in home runs last year. Well, we saw it with this Angels club last night. You get a lead on them. The Reds were out to a 4-0 advantage last night. They peck away. They peck away. Next thing you know, you're in a tie game. The Reds have had a 2-0 lead today. Vanish. 3-2. Vanish. 5-3. Now down to 5-4. Trumbo at the plate, and Simon coming in the dirt. Ball 1. Trumbo is struck out, grounded to second, and flied out to center field. Short lead over there by Hamilton, and there's a broken bat flare. Fair ball down the right field corner. Bruce getting to it, and they're going to hold Hamilton at third base. Bruce getting that ball to Brandon Phillips. And we said it a moment ago, and you say it again. Here come the Angels. Simon hitting Hamilton with 2 outs and nobody on. And Trumbo just drops one down the line, and now it's going to be Kendrick. Brian Price comes out to visit with his right-hander. Simon has given up 2 doubles, hit a batter, allowed a run. And this inning belongs to him. I mean, there is not a soul getting loose in the Reds bullpen. Played 13 innings in the opener. Yes, they had a day off, but they're playing with a man short down there in Marshall. Really, they're playing with 2 men short. I doubt they would bring back J.J. Hoover again today. So you're playing with a thin bullpen to begin with. And now Kendrick. Fastball, the knees, a strike. We didn't see Sam LeCure yesterday. Tying run at third, lead run at second, 2 out. Swing and a miss on a curveball. And now Simon ahead. Getting 2 strikes on a batter has not been the issue in the inning for Simon.
Now, but with the base open, he's got to be very careful about what he does the next couple of pitches.
Well, you have a switch hitter, Kayaspo, due up next. Breaking ball sweeping away and smothered by Hannigan.
Want to make sure he didn't make a mistake with that one. Nearly threw that one to the backstop.
Now LeCure is up and throwing. But he just got up. One ball, 2 strike pitch on Kendrick. High fly ball into right field, and this ought to do it. So Simon slams the door. He gives up a run. They stand and stretch. The Reds in front by a run. September the 23rd, Bark in the Park, presented by Imes and Kroger. And make sure you arrive early. Check out the great samples and activities in the Kroger Fan Zone. Have all our friends from the SPCA Cincinnati here, and it's always a huge night here at the ballpark. Well, Simon gets out of the inning. The Angels do score a run. Reds 5 runs, 7 hits. The Angels 4 runs and 10 hits. And Lowe still out there on the mound. See if the Reds have a little bit better patience with Lowe. I mean, there's a reason why this guy has bounced around a lot, despite having a very live arm. And he went through Frazier, Cozart, and Hannigan, throwing a grand total of 7 pitches in the last half inning. Here's Torres bats for the first time, and he's ahead in the count 2-0. Cesar part of the double switch, replacing Zach Cozart at short when Simon entered the game. Sam LeCure apparently will be the setup man for Aroldis Chapman today, or he might be setting up Jonathan Broxton, and that one is looped into left field, but they had it played perfectly. And Trumbo, the diving catch for the first out of the inning. That ball hit hard by Torres.
Well, you're right about him playing perfectly. You know, nowadays scouting, there's not an easy thing to hide a secret. And it's no secret that there's not a lot of power out of Cesar Torres, especially going the other way. They bring Trumbo way in, and he was right there to make a catch and on a ball that would normally fall in for a base hit.
Be interesting to see what's on the back end of the Reds bullpen today. We were just talking about it. You have used Chapman and you have used Broxton in each of the first 2 games of this season. And of course, even when the decision was made from Chapman to go from a potential starter during spring training back into the closer's role, that they were going to keep an eye on his outings and the frequency of those outings. And then from time to time, Broxton would close games, check swing, and he went around. 0-2 on Choo. But one of the 2 is going to pitch in the game today. Apparently it's not going to be both of them, because LeCure is a man getting loose right now. A ball and 2 strikes on Choo, who's had another good day today.
Hey, you know, speaking of scouting, Tom, the scouting director for the Los Angeles Angels is none other than former Red first baseman Hal Morris.
He is.
Saw him quite a bit out in spring training. He was scouting the Reds and preparing the Angels for this series.
I had a chance to visit with a couple of their scouts. One of them played the big leagues a long time, an outstanding coach for a long time, our friend Gary Varsho. When he went on and on and on about what a delight it is to work for Morris. Very organized, and the Angels are lucky to have him running that department.
Now the Angels brought former Red pitcher Pete Harnish in to be a guest instructor in spring training.
Didn't he come to your fantasy camp one year?
Yeah. I think he's been down there several years. He and Pete Shurik. Kind of Ike and Mike down there.
Fun guy to be around.
Oh, my goodness. Is he funny?
Yeah. 3-2 the count on Choo. And low to the plate. Did he go? Yes. Choo not happy. Twice run up on the appeal to the third base umpire Bill Miller during that at bat.
Take another look. Did he attempt or not? Boy, I'll tell you what. It looked like he held it back, at least from that angle. It's not whether it crosses the line or whether you break the wrist or the bat goes out in front of home plate or anything else. It's in the judgment of the umpire. Did he attempt to make a swing at the pitch?
Now Heisey broke the 3-3 tie with a laser to the seats in left field back in the 5th inning. It came with Choo aboard. The Angels got one of those runs back in the top of this 7th inning. A 1-run game. All 3 of these have been tight. 13 innings in a season opener. Reds won in the bottom of the 9th inning here last night. And now a 1-run spread last to the 7th inning in the rubber game of this series. Three balls and a strike. Be the latter third in the batting order for Mike Scioscia's Angels in the top of the 8th inning. Kayaspo, Conger, and then a pinch hitter for the pitcher. And a 3-1 now to Heisey. Into left center field. And once more stays up there long enough for Trumbo to catch it. End of 7. Reds 5, Angels 4. So here we go, top half of the 8th inning at Great American Ballpark. Angels won the series opener. The Reds by a run in the 9th inning last night, the decisive game of this 3-game series. And it's a 1-run Cincinnati lead. Bronson Arroyo, the front 6. Alfredo Simon gave up a single run in the 7th. And now we get a look at right-hander Sam LeCure.
Easily Sam's best year as a major leaguer last year, all in relief. 57 1/3 innings, had only 40 some odd hits, had more strikeouts than innings pitched. He was part of that shutdown bullpen that Dusty Baker could rely on all year long. Fastball, slider, likes the slider a lot, and they'll mix in a changeup and a curveball. What really makes Sam LeCure so effective, though, is he's got that little two-seam fastball that he can throw front door to a left-handed hitter, get him kind of back off the plate and have it come in and touch the inside corner. Not too many right-handers can throw that ball consistently, but LeCure is one of those.
Kayaspo, Conger, and then we'll see who Mike Scioscia sends out as a pinch hitter for Lowe, 3rd in the inning. Kayaspo, not a big power guy, he only hit 10 home runs all of last year. But he did hit one here in the game last night against Matt Latos. Strike 1 on the outside corner.
Well, if he's not a power guy, you're wondering if maybe the Reds ought to bring in left fielder Heisey the way that the Angels brought in Trumbo to face Asturis. He's still rather deep out there, playing just about average. Average depth, that is if for a right-handed hitter we're up.
Folded badly there, 0-2.
Cashbill gets about 10 bombs a year, but I imagine the majority of those are going to right field.
Cubs have added a couple of runs in the top of the 9th inning, so 1-0 becomes 3-0. Pirates bat in the bottom of the 9th. Cubs trying to win that season opening series on the road in Pittsburgh. 0-2 to Kayaspo. Breaking ball that he doesn't chase. One ball and 2 strikes on Kayaspo. And LeCure paints the outside corner, strike 3.
Well, Alberto Kayaspo got to see just about the entire Sam LeCure repertoire. This final one is a changeup, and what a dandy.
Really in a game of specialization, especially down in the bullpen, all over teams in Major League Baseball. Sam LeCure is anything but a specialist. He likes being moved all around. A lot of guys like to know, am I going to pitch a 7th inning? Am I going to pitch the 8th inning? What is my role on the team? You hear that all the time. Guys in the bullpen wanting to know what is their role. LeCure likes this role he has, which means you never know when or at what point in the game the phone is going to ring and Dusty Baker is going to ask for you to get loose. He said that gives him more opportunities to pitch in a game. Specialization can confine certain pitchers. You know, you're the left-handed specialist. You're only going to see the lefty. You're the guy we're going to go in the 6th inning. And you're the other lefty we're going to use against the lefty in the 8th inning. Broxton, he mainly only pitches in the 8th inning when the Reds are ahead most of the time. Chapman, you know his role. LeCure, first guy out of the bullpen in a playoff game, or depending on the situation, work in the 8th inning with a 1-run lead.
When he signed as a minor league player, he was a starter.
Yep.
He knew his role then. He started as many as 27 games a year as a minor leaguer. Came to major leagues originally as a starter, kind of a swing man. 5th starter, long man, that role right there. Sometimes you're mopping up early in the ball game for a guy that gets knocked out of the game. Other times you may be coming in the 15th inning with the game on the line. Just a Missouri kid that really doesn't care which way the river flows.
Two and two on Hank Conger, and LeCure turns it loose. He went around, it looked like on the appeal. Whoa, and no, says Bill Miller. Boy, it looked like he went further than Shin-Soo Choo did a minute ago. Maybe not. Looked like a good call on a second look. Brendan Harris stands in the on-deck circle. Pitcher spot due up next. We are in the top of the 8th inning. Reds leading the Angels 5-4. 1 out, nobody on. And 3 balls and 2 strikes to count on Hank Conger. Struck him out on high gas. 2 away in the inning. Seven strikeouts in the game for the Angels, who struck out 27 times the first 2 games, and the 34 total in this series. the most ever by the Reds in the first 3 games of a season, and the most ever during an interleague series. How about that? And of course, baseball history in this series just in and of itself, the first ever season opening interleague series. Swing and a miss by Harris. Sean Burnett, we have seen him in each of the first 2 games of this series. Getting loose down in the bullpen. He did not fare well at all in the game here last night. Kelly Jepsen had to bail him out. He came in to face Choo, walked him, got a right-handed batter out, then walked Votto, another left-handed batter. They took him out of the game. Reds failed to score. But he's getting ready for Votto and one would assume Bruce, with Phillips sandwiched in between, due up for the Reds in the last of the 8th inning. One delivery. Strike 2. Harris didn't like it. So now LeCure a strike away and out away from sending the Reds to the plate in the bottom of the 8th inning. And he got it. How about LeCure? Fans aside in the Angels' 8th inning. Callaspo, Conger, Harris gone. And so are the Angels. Reds still lead by a run. Nationals over the weekend. We talked about fireworks Friday, giving away the Reds fleece blanket on Saturday. Sunday, the first 20,000 Reds fans get a 2013 Reds magnetic schedule and car magnet thanks to PNC Bank. 513-381-REDS or visit select Kroger locations, or as always at reds.com/tickets. That is going to be a fun series over the weekend. 2 of the more highly touted teams in the National League here in 2013, the Reds and the Nationals, both winning their respective divisions a year ago. Now Sean Burnett, brought him in as a free agent during the offseason. He knows a thing or two about the Nationals.
Well, he certainly does, because he pitched for the Nationals. A very reliable left-hander out of their bullpen. Guy that hides the ball well, throws across his body, and specializes in that little slider right there.
What a job by LeCure. Fanning aside, and now Aroldis Chapman begins to throw in the Cincinnati bullpen. Angels have all the big boys coming up. I mean, it's going to be the top of the order. This is going to be some kind of 9th inning. Love to see the Reds give Chapman a little bit more room. That one full trombone. He's able to recover in time. Well, we talked about the Angels bullpen and all the questions marks. It has been really a bad run the last couple of years, and I don't mean for every individual a bad couple of years, but it certainly is the biggest question mark, along with the back end of their starting rotation, for a team that is just spending a fortune on its payroll. I'll tell you what, Chris, we don't know if it's going to last the rest of the year, but the bullpen's been pretty doggone good for the Angels in the first 3 games.
So far, they certainly have some good arms down there. I think got a nice mix of lefties, righties, a couple of left-handers, Downs and Burnett. And of course, remember that in the American League, you don't use your bullpen quite the same way you do in the National League.
Oh, and one to Brandon Phillips. And there's a strike. Joe Torre interviewed on the radio the other day, and he was asked about, now that he's involved with Major League Baseball and celebrating the anniversary of the designated hitter, and you know where he thought baseball might be going. He really didn't have any feeling as to whether or not baseball would adopt the DH in both leagues, or whether the pitcher would hit in both leagues. But he did say, and I found it fascinating listening to him talking about it. This is a guy that knows a thing or two about winning baseball games as a manager and a player. He said without a doubt he enjoys baseball with the pitcher batting far more due to the strategy of the game and the nuances of the game than he ever did all those years managing in the American League. Grounded to short, and there are 2 outs in the inning. I mean, there are fights that have been started over the designated hitter, so I'm not trying to go down that road with anybody. Everybody entitled to their opinion on it, but it was interesting to hear for a guy who won all those games and all those World Series managing in the American League, that even now he still far prefers baseball the way it was originally played without the DH. Joe Torre, of course, threw out the first pitch on opening day right here.
I agree with Joe on that point. Where do you fall on that?
I'm in agreement with you and Joe. I bet you Mike Scioscia would tell you the same thing. Aroldis Chapman cranking it up in the bullpen. Here's Jay Bruce on the ground to Pujols, and that will retire the side. Reds are gone in order. And here we go. Trout, Ibar, Pujols. Aroldis Chapman coming on from the bullpen. Turned in by Brandon Phillips. What a huge play it turned out to be. Chris wondered about it at the time. Trout was already on base. This looked like a base hit for Ibar. Denied a hit and denied reaching base. Angels would get 1 run, but would not get that other base runner on until much later in the inning after there were 2 men out. So a 5-4 game, and here we go, Chris. Doesn't get much better than this. Aroldis Chapman coming on to try and nail it down.
And all of a sudden, when that bullpen gate opens up and Chapman comes on the field between innings, you don't get the feeling here on television that you do down at the ballpark. But all of a sudden now, the crowd comes to its feet. They've been kind of laid back today. It's been somewhat of a seesaw game, pitchers type battle. But man, oh man, when he comes on this field, this place becomes electric, and they're on their feet waiting for the Cuban Missile to deliver.
Chapman pitched in the opening game in the 9th inning. Reds had a chance to take the lead and give him a save chance in the bottom of the 8th. Pitched in a tie game in the top of the 9th. Walked 1 batter, struck out 2. Earned the win by pitching in the top of the 9th inning last night. And the final out he recorded was a pop fly to second base by Mike Trout. So Trout will lead things off here in the top of the 9th inning. Chapman staring down into the sign given by Ryan Hannigan. Look out on his first pitch. And taking a fastball all the way is Trout. Strike 1.
We've seen with Aroldis Chapman that the first pitch is, this one was 93, and normally as he gets 6 or 7 pitches into the inning, now that ball comes in quicker and quicker. When he throws his hardest is after he's got about 10 or 12 in.
0-1 to Trout, and Chapman lost speed there, missed down and in.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an effort by Ryan Hannigan, Brian Price, everybody to get Chapman to use his off-speed pitches a little bit more than he did last year.
Turned around a 95-mile-per-hour fastball to Trout. And so the tying run aboard to begin the 9th inning. Trout, his second hit, third straight time he's been on base.
Well, the quick bat, 95 or not, when it's in that spot, that's hitting speed and hitting zone. Now the question is, will the Angels try to run Mike Trout? Chapman's got a deceptive move to first, but if you pick the right move to go on when he goes home, you can pretty much waltz into second base because he's not quick to the plate. He's deceptive.
Eric Ibar, the batter, a 3-hit game, robbed of a 4th hit. Chapman gets to that quickly, can't find the handle, now does, and they get the out barely at first base. Boy, what tremendous focus by Brandon Phillips to be able to find that ball with the runner right on him, almost lip to lip.
Oh, you're not kidding. I'm not sure if there's another left-handed pitcher around that makes this play when you boot it at first and then come up winging it. We didn't get a radar gun reading on this throw to first base by Chapman to Brandon Phillips.
Very, very close call. So now it's Chapman against Pujols. And now the pitch on the way. Line drive right field, caught by Bruce. Hard hit ball by Pujols, but allowed out. And now Josh Hamilton. Hamilton was the first batter that Chapman faced in the 9th inning on opening day. Threw him a fastball, threw him a changeup, threw him a slider, and struck him out.
Well, I got to figure that if he throws a fastball on the first pitch, Josh Hamilton is hacking because he does not want to see that slider.
And they're setting up away, which would indicate first pitch away. A fastball at the knees, 97 for strike one. Tying run at second base, 2 outs in the 9th. 0-2 to Hamilton.
I'm a little surprised really on the first couple of pitches right here that Mike Trout didn't just waltz on into third base. I don't even think the Reds would make a throw. You get 90 feet away, there's 8 more ways you can score than you can from second base. Infield playing way back. But Chapman on the mound, a wild pitch is always a possibility.
Now the 0-2 on Hamilton. Fouled out of play, and that time Trout was running. That was 99 miles per hour on the fastball that time, and there's nothing but fastballs in this at bat to Hamilton so far by Chapman. A 1-run lead, runner at second, 2 outs in the 9th inning. Got him swinging, and Chapman blows away Hamilton. And the Reds, after losing on opening day, come back and beat the Angels in back-to-back 1-run decisions, and winning this series against the Angels, where you got to combine 2 hits from Bruce and Votto. How about that?
Well, you win it with pitching and defense, and we saw the defense at the very beginning of this inning. The recap of that great play that Brandon Phillips made. You saw great pitching. Sam LeCure comes in and strikes out the side, and Aroldis Chapman nails it down in the 9th inning. A very tight ball game. Boy, this is a series between 2 teams well matched up and exciting to watch. Reds take 2 out of 3. That's the way to start the season.
Boy, is it ever. What a way to get it going. So the Reds win for a 2nd straight day. Final count of 5-4. Chapman a win and a save in each of the last 2 days. So we're back with more from Great American Ballpark. Reds win.